Hello, Wasteland! Yes, and welcome to today's episode where I talk all about my entry to Gaslands UK's Car of the Month competition for August 2020, Dead Reckoning. So, this will be quite a quick episode, I think. Just sort of talking over the sort of inspiration behind it and just the silly little sort of journey it goes on, really. So let's start right at the beginning. Let's start right at the start. So, where did I come up with the idea for this? I mean, the subject of steampunk was announced for the competition. So where do you go from there? How do you get from the competition starting and entering a picture of all the different bits that I plan to use or might use, all the way to the finished thing at the end of the competition? What's the journey? Well, a big part of it was I looked at, a lot of generic steampunk images online, and I was looking for things that would sort of inspire just any kind of creativity in me. Because I think a big part of it, when you've got a genre like steampunk, or indeed this month's theme, cyberpunk, you have to find that niche that fits you. And for me, it was very much in the gothic horror side of things. It was that Victorian sort of dark and moody and yeah, there was the steampunk element, but it's like the old saying about a Blade Runner, which is yeah, it's the future, but the future's old. It's like yeah, this is super science stuff, but it's going to be dirty and it's going to be grimy and miserable and covered in skulls and horror imagery and all that good stuff. And I had a lot of help from my partner with this, looking at sort of images. And she sent me a lot of pictures that she would find in her free time, things like actual vampire hunting kits from back of the day, which I had no idea was actually a thing. Um, but just cool stuff like that. So you start to get this sort of mood board almost of all these different images. And I had a look at one particular build from Fabiano Souza had always stuck in my mind, which was this zombie hunting vehicle that he'd made from a lovely Coca-Cola delivery truck, which I just think is absolutely fantastic. And I really liked the angle that he had going on there. It's not as steep as what I was able to come up with, um, but it certainly helped, feed a lot of the inspiration that I had going on in mine. Um, but at the same time, they are two totally separate builds, which I'm very happy about. I think there's always a risk of that when you're building something inspired by someone else's work, that someone could turn around and say, "Oh, it's just derivative of that. It's just a less impressive version of this." And it's like, no, they're their own separate things, which is quite nice. So so you go through that phase of looking for inspiration. My dad came up with a great idea, which was authentic Wild West hearses, which would be horse-drawn carts, but they would sort of really kind of do them up, and you'd have the glass paneling on the sides, but they'd also carve into the woodwork of the hearse. It wouldn't just be a bog standard horse-drawn carriage with a dead body in it. They would carve like reliefs and patterning into the woodwork to make it look like cloth, to make it look like fabric, which I thought was incredible. And I can't say I've found a way to do that yet in miniature, but you never know. So if we have a look at how the actual car was built, then I'd say the very first photo I took is this one, because you've got to keep in mind when I work on a competition entry like this, that's all I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about, oh yes, well later on I'll do a video about it and da 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 da. It's like no, I just want to focus on this, get it done to the standard that I'm setting for myself, and go from there. So you're seeing a lot of the legwork already being done here. Like I've already figured out a system to get the body raised up from the carriage. I've already got the wheels in there, and of course they roll. I've already started working on the sort of the steam powered engine, as it were, as well as little hidden things like the hydraulics at the front. It's all this stuff going on, but it's all sorted out at this point. I've not tried to document as I go. I've just gone, no, let's come on. Time's wasting. Let's do this. So, but there was a lot of things that needed modifying and tweaking as I went along. And a lot of things that I'm sure a lot of you will recognize, like that wonderful front grille that I've showed you guys how to do before. There was something about this. I wanted to make it where a lot of people could look at it and go, oh, I could do that as well. Because as I've said before in this channel, that's the best kind of build, when you can make something and inspire the people around you to go, I want to do that, that looks great, and not go, oh, well, that's far above me, I can never do that. A lot of the stuff I do, I know you could do as well, person viewing at home. So let's have a look at some of the more interesting bits as time went on, like sorting out where the Grim Reaper would sort of sit, and then how he would interact with this roof that would be glued on at a later stage. Because I had to, if I was going to do an open topped bit, I'd need to be able to get in there with a paintbrush and do all that before sealing it up with that roof. I mean, I even modelled a gear stick for him to have next to him. So, yeah, there's a lot of detail in this that, for the most part, you probably can't see a lot of, at least not from the photos. But yeah, what can I say? It was a really challenging build. But I think you know in your heart when something's going well and something's going right, and you're really getting into it. And then it just becomes a question of, well, what's the point we stop at? When have we put enough detail on this? When have we put enough accessories and fiddly bits and this and this, and then we're going to green stuff on some curtains, and then we're going to at what point do you go, okay, that's enough? And I've found over the years that the careful balance is you need enough plain surfaces with nothing on, like just like a nice flat section that isn't covered in skulls and carvings and rivets and bolts and this, that, and extra layers of junk. You just need like it doesn't have to be the whole vehicle. You don't want it to look like a box, but you need some areas where it's just a nice flat. Get some scratches in there. Maybe put some rivets if you're feeling wild, but it makes it really tie together. It helps you actually look at it as a coherent whole, rather than going, okay, let's cover the entire thing in details and then I can't make out what's going on. Like I've got some older pictures on my computer, if I can dig them up, of miniatures I've made where the idea has been fun, but there's that much I'm trying to crowbar into it that it just looks forced, and it doesn't look very good. So let's talk about painting this bad boy then. So yeah, I did the standard kind of. I think the silly thing is, once you've built it, you suddenly get worried about messing up the paint job. But once you get paint on the model, it becomes so much easier. So even if it's just spraying it black and then giving a layer of brown all over, oh my goodness, it becomes easier then to actually like get in there and start picking out areas. A big part of this was figuring out what parts would be that sort of copper or brass or bronze look, and what parts would just be regular metal. Because this being the steampunk challenge, you want to have that mix, and at the same time, if it's all brass and bronze, it wouldn't look very good. And then if it's all just plain metal, it wouldn't look very good. You needed that balance, as well as the variation. There was a lot of behind the scenes sort of thinking that went into this. Although, interesting fact you probably don't care about but need to know anyway. When it comes to the actual look of this thing, this will surprise many a person, I'm sure, as the places that I've posted this have gone absolutely wild with like, oh man, it looks like Dragula, it looks like something from Rob Zombie. It's like, it never even occurred to me to look at those things. I never looked at Dragula, I never looked at the Munsters or the Addams Family or any of that. It just didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to me. It didn't occur to my partner or my parents or my friends that I would talk to this about. None of us went, oh my god, look at Rob Zombie's Dragula, look at, what was that episode of the Munsters called? It was like Speedway Herman or something, like Drag Racer Herman. Like it just never entered our minds. But because of that, there's none of. I think this is quite interesting. You've got basically two kind of creative sort of completely different projects, separated by decades, and yet we both came to the same kind of stylistic designs. You compare the Munsters car to what I've made, and there's a lot of similarities, even though complete zero interaction between the two. I genuinely never even thought about it, never entered my mind. No one recommended it to me while I was doing this. But I was working on this for like 4 weeks, and then you look at it and you go, "Oh yeah, actually, yeah, it does. There's a lot. There's a lot in common." But I think that's just how strong certain influences throughout the culture are. Like when you're looking at Gothic horror and Victorian horror, a lot of that bleeds through it. And the blacks, lots of real dark tones and black and red, and real strong Gothic looks. So, but yeah, here we are. Here we are. And as I've said to you all, as you know, this is on its way to a very special man in Poland, Maciej Matrak, and he's under orders not to sell it or pass it on or leave it on a shelf. He's going to keep it and play with it forever. Because this is the kind of build, like a lot of the ones that I do, where it's got to be earned. You can't just. This is not a buy now thing. Like I've already had people ask me, I was like, "Oh, how much would it cost for you to make me one of them?" Or would you do a commission? And it's like, wow, the time it takes just wouldn't make it worth it. You wouldn't be willing to pay what it costs in man hours, because it took up all my free time for like a solid 3-4 weeks. Every day off I had, at some point I was working on this. Regardless of what I was doing that day. Do you remember at the start of August we were having that real, like, hot spell? Just absurd temperatures. I had one of those space coolers next to me just blasting directly in my face as I was working on this, because that's what it took. Because this is the kind of thing that you look at and you go, it's your force of will. You are bringing this thing into creation by force of will. Because there's no guide to any of this. You just do it because that's the image in your mind and you're going to make it happen. But as that classic saying from Starship Troopers goes,
It's a reward. What the Federation gives you for doing federal service.
No. Something given has no value.
So there you go. Out of 55 contestants, Maciej Matrak, in my opinion, he won it. And so it is on his way to him. And he's under orders when he gets it to take a photo of himself with it, because I think that would be good. I want to see it arrive safe. But I've made a lot of these sort of big showy models now. I've had things in print, in magazines. I've had them in PDFs. I'm in damn near every Gaslands related bit of media you can imagine, or a lot of it. This one was special though, as our Lord and Saviour Mike Hutchinson said himself. I continue to be the spirit guide of Gaslands, which really, really hits me in the heart, man. It feels good. But what can I say? You put a lot of time into something like this, and there's nothing like this out there. Like no one's come close yet. Not from what I've seen. I've been doing this a while. I mean, I know people now are starting to make their own, and I'm glad of that. I wish Colin Harvard the best of luck in making 4 of these. There's always something about that first one. All I can say is you guys better watch out for August next year, because you can guarantee it's going to be another doozy. Apparently what I need in life is the competition. I need that challenge to apply myself to. Who knew, right? Anyway, thank you for making it to the end of the video. Good. Like I said, I'm going to keep this short. We just hit 5,000 subscribers, so thank you all for hanging about and enjoying this. Yeah, as always, no adverts on this channel because I can't stand them. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff if you feel like it. I've got a Patreon. We've successfully sent out three cars now to people. One person I'm still waiting to get back to me. Hey, Blue Moon, if you're watching, answer your email. Go on Patreon and answer your messages, Blue Moon. It's been like 3 weeks, come on. And there's going to be a giveaway to a Patreon this month as well. So, like at the end of the day, I don't do tiers. I don't do private Discord rubbish. If you just want to talk to me, just message me on Facebook or here. I don't mind. I'm a very open person. At the end of the day, the best things in life are free. I'm not going to charge you for my time. So just say hello. I got nothing against that. Thank you all for watching Wasteland, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye bye. Oh yeah, and more tutorials. I've got tutorials based on this build that are going to come out, so no worries.